Kololo Independence Grounds. Right here we are having the national dialogue on food systems transformation. And any time from now, we expect the head of state, President Yoweri Museveni, to be coming to grace this occasion. The function has attracted various people, including various ministers, Minister of Finance, Matia Kasaija, Minister for Local Governments, Raphael Majezi, and several others. We also have officials from the UN agencies. We have people from the National Planning Authority. Now, this dialogue has been organized or convened by the Office of the Prime Minister and Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, together with the National Planning Authority, are co-conveners of this dialogue. It comes ahead of the Food Systems Summit set for next month. So now here we have several people that are to talk to us more about this particular dialogue and how important it is, what Ugandans really need to know about this dialogue. With me here I have Commissioner Joseph Tejeza. Is the Commissioner Strategic Coordination in the Office of the Prime Minister. So you're welcome, Commissioner.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Could you talk to us about why we're here today?
Yeah, thank you. We are here today for the National Dialogue on Food Systems. And this is a culmination of several independent dialogues that we have had. About 26. We have had regional ones. We have had groups coming separately as groups. And what they came up with is a culmination of what we are going to have today in terms of issues, recommendations, actions, statements, and commitments.
When we talk about dialogue, it is an engagement between various parties. What should Ugandans expect from this particular dialogue, and what is to be discussed today?
What Ugandans should expect from this dialogue is majorly to do with food systems. And food systems is just a reference to the stages, or you can call them levels, of the food systems value chain. This includes production of food, storage of food, processing of food, distribution of food, and up to consumption. So each of those layers has got players, has got actors who participate at those levels. And they are interlinked because one of them failing to do his or her part implies that the whole food systems chain collapses. So their actions are brought together in an integrated way, coordinated, and that's the main purpose we are here. Because once they are not coordinated, then it means some may be having actions, but at the end of the day, the actions are null and void to the entirety of the system.
So as Uganda, where do we stand in terms of food systems? Or maybe someone out there could imagine, when you're talking about food systems, the issue of food security also comes in. How do we stand as a country?
Yeah, the issue of food security, like we had talked earlier, the way we have structured, I'm not dodging your question, but I just want to illustrate this. The way we had structured today's engagement, we are going to have the Minister of Agriculture making a statement. But before that, my colleague, Assistant Commissioner for Food Security in the Ministry of Agriculture, will talk more about that. But in general terms, from what we have found out across the dialogues, is that Uganda has abundant food. And the challenge we have is how is it distributed? Because you'll find that in some places, food is thrown away or wasted, while in other places there's starvation. So along the chain, that's why we are talking about the distribution. If there is a surplus somewhere, how do we get it to our persons who have limitations or deficits? And if there is wastage somewhere, how do we curb that wastage and ensure that there is equitable distribution? So in terms of food security, you can say that we are abundant in general terms or abundant in food supply somewhere, but at the same time deficits elsewhere. But the detail of that will be given by the subject matter specialist, the Assistant Commissioner for Food and Security, Ministry of Agriculture.
Talking about the issue of distribution of food, knowing that in some places we have abundant food supply, yet others are lacking. Where is the problem? Where is the gap?
That's what I was telling you about the food system. The food system bit, my colleague will give details. But among the gaps we have found out that issues like land evictions, issues like usage of land for industrialization, issues of using poor methods of production that yield that make low yields, issues of insecticides, pesticides that make yields small or that counter the health. All those are the spectrum of those that we have come up with, and the detail of it will be given. But that's the major line we are following. That the Ministry of Agriculture handles that technical bit. Office of the Prime Minister does the overall coordination, and then the National Planning Authority structures it into our national planning frameworks, fit the national vision.
Right. Thanks very much, Commissioner.
Yes.
Well, that's the Commissioner, Strategic Planning in the Office of the Prime Minister. Now, as you may know, any time from now, we still expect the head of state to be coming here to grace this particular occasion. And like he mentioned, we have another commissioner, assistant commissioner, in charge of food and nutrition security. He's from the Ministry of Agriculture. So what we're going to be talking to him briefly to tell us about some of the other regional engagements that have been happening before this National Day. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
He is Assistant Commissioner Alex Bambona, and he's the Assistant Commissioner Food and Nutrition Security, Ministry of Agriculture. Talk to us about the regional engagements you've had, how many they are, how long you've had them, and what came out of them.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. We have had 18 regional engagements involving all the value chain actors, processors, government officials in all MDAs, in all ministries, departments and agencies, in the local government structure. And some of them also involving the farm leaders, the farmers. So everybody along the value chain. They have gone on for about, let's say, from June, for about 2 months. Yeah. And they were having, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, these engagements were mostly on virtual. That is on our Zoom. And we are having them on Zoom. Yeah.
Talking about virtual.
1 day, many of them, or half a day.
Talking about virtual, how did the local people down there, say like the farmers, take part in this? Because we're talking about food systems, and farmer is very critical in this whole value chain. How did you engage them?
That's a common question. And by the way, also we had radio engagements, radio and TV, radio and these media engagements. So the farmers would join also in the media. Through media, that one, media is across the board, especially for radio. We had so many radio engagements, and the farmers were joining through these radio stations. But also, what we did, the farmers have their structures. They have their farm organizations. Even the traders have their structures. They have their trade organizations. Even these processors have their structures. So all of them have their structures. They are organized. So the way we work in the government is mostly through these structures, and we have these leaders of groups. So those are internet savvy. They can be able to access internet. The people these days are very brilliant. Yes, can manage to get their leaders on board. Yeah, of course you can't get every farmer. You can't get like 4 million farmers that they go. So pass through their leaders. And they have all their views covered. But it was a very comprehensive engagement across the board. And almost every interest group was involved.
Talking about the interesting engagements we had with them, what were some of the key issues that came out from those people down there?
Yeah, some of the key issues which came out include one, is that we are under-exploiting our agricultural potential. So the farmers are putting in a lot and getting less. And yet we need to put in, instead we should put in less and get more. That's how we get more profitable culture. That's one of the key issues which came out. Another key issue among the many which came out, there are about 12, I may not talk all of them. Another one which came out is the issue of storage. Much of our food is being wasted. The storage structures are not well established from parish level up to national level, so we don't have food reserves. And that one is disturbing the stability of food supply in the country and There's a lot of vulnerabilities in the country, as you can see. There's this food securities across the region. Another one which came out very strongly, which is related to this one, is the post-harvest handling. Is poor, and that one is compromising issues of food safety, but also food safety on its own is another issue, right from production. Too much, sometimes the agrochemicals are poorly handled and used, and we have many issues of food safety which are related to issues of cancer, which is becoming an issue also. Another issue which also came out strongly was the issue of the market access. That our markets, including the domestic and regional markets, our farmers are not having a very good market access. And we have to work on that, that they can easily sell their products. That was a key issue which came out, and as a country we need to work upon it. Another one,
you talked about the issue of low productivity, and we know as a country we have less than 1% of fertilizer usage in the country.
Yes,
as a ministry, are there any particular strategies you have put in place to ensure the uptake of fertilizers goes up?
Yeah, we have the strategies. We have even a fertilizer strategy. But so we have the strategies in place, and we have programs. We are putting in place, and we have a special program under the Agriculture Cluster Development Project. It is called the e-voucher system. Fertilizer is two ways. One is affordability. Another one is people being aware of the advantage of their use. So this e-voucher system, the government subsidizes, let's say in the first year, 60% of the inputs. Fertilizers, agrochemicals, and many inputs. It is input use. So the people can pay, let's say, only 40%, and then the government can pay for them in the first year, let's say 60%. And then there is a special stockist who can deliver them through a very organized system, which even ensures the quality of inputs. The next year they can reduce the pay. Now, meanwhile, the gentleman is getting a high output, and is getting more interested because he's seeing the benefits of using inputs. And the next year the government can scale down to say 40%, and he pays 60%, and he will be happy. And eventually he will be weaned off, and it becomes a market-driven process whereby he will buy his own inputs after seeing the benefits. And this one, we think we can, this ICDP project can be a very good model for upscaling for promoting input use.
Has it already been implemented?
Yes, it's already been implemented. In fact, it's in the final. The project is remaining is about 1 year to end. Okay. Yeah.
Talking about inputs, there's been another challenge to do with quality. Farmers have suffered from substandard quality. How do you intend to address this?
That was another issue which came up strongly in fact, I have not completed all the issues, but you cut me short. That one also came strongly, our input, the fake inputs, which are, that is a serious issue, which is, has many drivers, because we have to work, the ministry is working on a system whereby you can easily link up you can have a traceability of the inputs through a standard system. We're working with other colleagues in UNBS and the private sector, whereby the farmer can easily trace the origin of these inputs. But again, they need to be sensitized, those farmers, make sure, because it's a two-way process. The farmer and the dealer. The farmer also must be on the lookout to ensure the inputs are not fake. But at the same time, the ministry also, there are some constraints on the way, like the man, the power to do the surveillance everywhere, and how it can be facilitated. So it's a big story, and the ministry is handling it. So because that is the key area for us to handle to ensure that the country moves forward.
Your extension officers have not been to the ground to help many of the farmers. How do you intend to support the farmers to access these services?
That's the key issue which also came out in the dialogue. that they are now trying to be on the ground. In fact, they have been facilitated in a way through a special grant. But now it is an overall government structure, transformation strategy, not only Okacha alone. The government has come up with a wonderful model to ensure service delivery. This is called the parish model. And I think today they will elaborate more on the game-changing area in that parish model. We believe if we concentrate extension up to the parish model, and if possible, if we can deploy even some of assistance there, then the accessibility of extension services will be highly enhanced. In fact, that's why the government has come up with a parish model. We have realized that we are in the air somewhere, and we can enhance services by concentrating at parish level. That one will be a great game changer in all government, the delivery of all government services in the country. Yeah.
Assistant Commissioner, thank you so much for your time and your insights. We really appreciate. Yeah, that is Assistant Commissioner Alex Bambona. Is the Assistant Commissioner Food and Nutrition Security in the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. And now, right here, we also have someone from the private sector. She's the Executive Director of the Food Rights Alliance, Madame Agnes Chirabo. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon. I think it's already afternoon. Good afternoon, viewers. You know, we came in the morning. We didn't know when the morning stopped.
Okay.
Yes, good afternoon, viewers.
We are here talking about food systems transformation.
Yep.
What needs to be done as a country to have our food systems transformed?
The number one thing that we have to do as a country is to rethink, change the way we think about food. I think for me this is the biggest missing link. The way we think about food, that food is no longer a social issue or a communal issue or a basic thing for life, but food in context is becoming an economic tool, it is becoming a political tool, it is becoming a security tool. So we have to rethink the way we think about food. And if we achieve that, then we are going to move faster to how we undertake actions that are going to define the kind of food system that we have in the country, and that food system that will give us the food, the healthy diets, the nutritious diets, the sustainable diets, the food that is going to feed the people, feed nature, and the entire ecosystem.
The Assistant Commissioner talked about the issue of storage. The country doesn't have national storage, like stores for food. Don't you think this is one issue that is undermining our food security in the
They are
country?
called the National Food Strategic Reserves.
Yes.
And it's a constitutional commitment. The government of Uganda in our constitution, 95, committed to ensure that everybody in Uganda is food secure, and went ahead in state principle objective number 22 and committed that the government shall establish national food reserves. When we are talking about national food reserves, we are talking about a reserve that the government can draw into when the rain days follow. Like we saw, we're in COVID and we are in a lockdown, and the government wants to give its people, these vulnerable people, food. They have to draw food from the strategic reserves. They have to draw food from the strategic reserves in the days of war, but they also supposed to draw food from the strategic reserves when we are confronted with a food inflation. They draw that food and release the food on the market, and it stabilizes the food prices, that those that can afford to buy from the market are not outcompeted by the prices. So that's why they are called strategic food reserves. But the other role that the strategic food reserves play is to make sure that no food go to waste. And how do we lose a lot of food in Uganda? We lose a lot of food in practice, the poor food handling practices, but we also lose a lot of food because of the market failures. You recall what is happening to our dairy products when milk is cheaper than water in this country. So if you're thirsty in some areas in the pastoral communities, you're better off drinking milk because it is cheaper than water. We have seen what has happened to the banana producing communities. You saw what happened to the maize sometime when government intervened by saying let us put money in the bank and then private sector can buy maize grain from the farmers. So a lot of food, when the market systems fail, a lot of food go to waste. And when a lot of food goes to waste, it's a food systems transformation issue because you used a lot of resources to produce that food and it has not met any stomach. You have constrained nature to give you that food. It has not reached the stomachs anywhere, but also there are still millions of people that we are living with in our country that actually spend a day without a meal.
Talking about availability of food, we know the COVID-19 pandemic has really disrupted our engagement or access to food and shown weaknesses in our food systems. How much has this affected our food systems and what particular area has been affected?
We all know that there are disruptions, and you see, how do people feed? When you go to the definition, the UN definition of the human right to adequate food is that every person, man and woman, at all times have physical or financial access to foods or means of its procurement. So when we look at disruptions and failure of people to feed themselves, there are two things. Either the food is not available, but for the case of Uganda, the food was available, and the food is available. I have told you that milk among the pastoral communities is cheaper than water. So the milk is available, but the food system, the food distribution systems were disrupted, and they continue being disrupted by such circumstances like COVID-19. And so the food is unable to move from areas of plenty to areas of deficit. But also, when the income sources are disrupted, then even when the food is available, because by and large food is becoming a commodity, especially in the urban areas, so those without income again end up not being able to access the food that could be available.
Thank you very much. We'd like to cut you short because the head of state has arrived. But thank you so much for your time. Yes, our dear viewers, the head of state, President Yoweri Museveni, has arrived here at Kololo Independence Grounds, where he is to grace this national dialogue on food systems transformation. So we continue. Stay tuned to NTV as we relay what is happening in this place. Benjamin Jumbe for NTV.
Once he arrives at his tent, will be the singing of the anthems. And we shall be led by the systems organizers, and we shall sing all the three stanzas of the national anthem, which will then be followed by singing of the East African anthem. It's befitting that we have all risen up to welcome His Excellency the President, who is being officially welcomed to this venue by the Prime Minister and other cabinet ministers. We can't remain standing to allow His Excellency the President to go and take his place at the tent where he will be hosting this dialogue from. His Excellency the President is waving at you, all of us. You can wave back at him. Your Excellency, you're welcome. Amidst us, we have the Right Honorable Prime Minister and a number of other ministers, the UN family heads, and many other dignitaries, heads of government institutions. Anthem, please. We may resume our seats, please. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, ministers here present, the UN body representatives, permanent secretaries here present, representatives of the various government agencies here represented, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Charles Odongtho, and I will be helping to direct this discussion or dialogue this afternoon that is hosted by His Excellency the President. The dialogue is on the national food systems, and this is the national dialogue, which is a culmination of 4 other regional such dialogues that have taken place in the 4 regions of Uganda: Western, Eastern, Northern, and Central. The convener of today's dialogue is the OPM, or the Office of the Prime Minister, and that's because by our Constitution, Article 108A provides that the Prime Minister or the Office of the Prime Minister will be in charge of coordinating the implementation of government programs. The convener is the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries and the National Planning Authority, together with development partners, especially the UN families, led by the Food and Agricultural Organization. Your Excellency, also participating in this dialogue actively has been the World Health Organization. As we know, food or nutrition is very important to health, and so the World Health Organization has been active in this dialogue. We also have the UNICEF, and as we again are informed, children are usually in cases where nutrition is inadequate, probably the most affected when they are stunted, hence affecting their growth. Before I invite the Honorable Minister for Gender, Labor and Social Development to come and lead us in a prayer, I wish to bring us into what we are going to be looking at. One of the things we have to know is that livelihood is derived from agriculture, especially when we are talking about Uganda, whose mainstay is agriculture. And so any efforts aimed at promoting agriculture, at promoting better livelihood, must be supported. This dialogue that we are having today will culminate in a resolution that will be presented towards September to the UN, together with other global nations on the same. We are going to have few speeches, but among those speeches, we will have one from the Permanent Secretary of the Office of the Prime Minister, who will officially welcome us and give us opening remarks. But as a God-fearing nation, may I take this honor to invite the Honorable Betty Amongi to come and lead us in an opening prayer so that this ground that we stand on and work from can be a blessed one before we start the discussions proper. Honorable Betty Amongi, you are most welcome. Let's put our hands for her. Let's give her some energy so that she prays for us.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we come before you as we seek to create a world where all are sustainable food resources, a world where we live without food insecurity. Mobilize us, O Lord, to be a part of a world response that works in partnership with those of goodwill to foster equitable resource sharing. Descend upon us as we dialogue, to find new ways to answer the call of providing sustainable livelihood for all to flourish. We pray this in the name of the Almighty God.
Amen. Thank you very much. And thank you, Honorable Betty Amongi. May I now take this opportunity to invite the Acting Permanent Secretary, Office of the Prime Minister, Mr. Dombo James Collins, to come and give us the official welcoming remarks. Mr. Dombo, you're most welcome.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Third Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Cabinet Ministers here present, Excellencies, representatives of the UN agencies, permanent secretaries, colleagues, heads, different heads of MDAs, you're welcome. What I have been requested to do is basically to welcome all of you to this gathering of today. Your Excellency, the President, when the UN Secretary General designated to call the food. As a country, Your Excellency, the Right Honorable Prime Minister moved in preparations towards this summit, which is scheduled to be in September. A number of activities have been held in terms of holding different meetings. I am of a multi-sectoral composition where we come together to work out the arrangements, but we also have the political organization. Of you for coming up. But before I leave, let's just give a hand of applause to thank His Excellency the President for gracing this occasion. I thank you so much.
Your Excellency, permit me now to invite Professor Pamela Mbabazi, the chairperson of the National Planning Authority, but also a co-convener of this dialogue. She's going to talk to us about the background to the National Food System Summit dialogue process. Come, Professor.
Organizations, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon. Let me take this honor to welcome you all to Uganda's National Dialogue on Food Systems. I am much delighted to present to you our journey as we prepare Uganda towards embracing food systems approach in the country. Your Excellency, dear participants, Uganda will join other nations in September 2021, convened by the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Food systems is the way food is produced, food is transported, food is processed, packaged, distributed, marketed, purchased, and consumed. This is very critical as it touches all areas that are essential for the realization
of our national development aspirations and the Sustainable Development Goals. In the world context, the UN Food Systems Summit will raise global awareness, deepen our understanding of problems that we must solve, and set us on a course of how to radically change the way we produce
partners and colleagues of the United Nations system, representatives of civil society and private sector, ladies and gentlemen, and observing all previously established protocols. On behalf of the United Nations system in Uganda, I'm very pleased to participate in Uganda's National Dialogue of the Food Systems Summit. The upcoming summit next month, called by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, as part of the Decade of Action, is aiming to unlock the power of food to deliver progress across all 17 of our common global development goals. The most valuable part of the Food Systems Summit is really the national discussions and the decisions they will trigger for accelerating towards national development plans. Each country and region will, of course, chart its own path towards transformation of its food systems, but some challenges go beyond national and regional borders, thus the need for a global conversation. These national dialogues, however, form the solid foundation upon which a global discussion can be had around some of the cross-border challenges and opportunities around our interconnected food systems. I would like to warmly commend the government of the Republic of Uganda for according such energy and interest in the implementation of its national food systems dialogue. Here, there have been many conversations engaging thousands of Ugandans discussing the national food system. And I understand many of these conversations have been very participatory, and I would also like to warmly commend the government for that, because despite the COVID restrictions, we've managed to have a truly participatory process. These many conversations have led us to where we are today, and the presence of His Excellency the President and the Right Honorable Prime Minister and the Honorable Minister of Agriculture and so many key ministers is truly impressive. It shows the importance of this subject matter to the government of the Republic of Uganda and bodes well for the teamwork that will be required to accelerate the transformation of the current food system into one that will ensure access to safe and nutritious foods for all persons living in Uganda, will provide the many, many, many needed jobs, especially for young Ugandans, will support a nature-positive production while also building resilience to climate shocks. Mr. President, honorable participants, as we celebrated Youth Day a few days ago, I clearly heard about the 4 sectors mentioned by His Excellency: commercial agriculture, industries, services, and ICT. With 72% of Ugandans' population employed in agriculture, although in the brochure I read 69%, but regardless, a lot of percentage of Ugandans employed in agriculture. Agriculture and agribusiness will drive these 4 sectors. And beyond, agriculture and agribusiness will drive the attainment of many of our sustainable development goals. And this is especially true at this critical time as we try to play catch up with the time that we have lost due to the COVID pandemic. The United Nations system is working very closely with government in all the streams of work around the food system discussions, and these have already been well mentioned by Professor Pamela. Thank you so much for that. So I will spare you the part of my speech that was supposed to talk about that. We all already know that relooking at our food systems can unlock a lot of development gains. Solving the food systems puzzle will call for plenty of creativity, energy, steadfastness. And creativity, energy, steadfastness, and extraordinary teamwork on a focused issue doesn't always just obviously and spontaneously happen within governments and the broader society. It will require a lot of leadership at all levels to make it work. The entire UN family and I are really looking forward to the new commitments and plans emerging from these food system discussions. I look forward to I would imagine, some sort of reprogramming of NDP3, which was drawn before the pandemic and will now necessarily need some tweaking as early assumptions no longer hold true. I also look forward towards the government's necessary tweaking and reorganization of its development partners' coordination mechanisms to facilitate our greater support and focus towards these new commitments. We need the private sector arm in arm with us. They have the larger financial muscle to leverage towards greater socioeconomic impact. And we may need to find more productive ways of engaging and working with them. As I conclude, your United Nations family is here and desirous to support further as we unlock the opportunities of our food system. Many agencies are contributing significantly already. Professor Pamela has mentioned some. They are all playing important roles in the various streams of work, but of course behind them are many others. I reiterate our commitment to support the government and people of Uganda through the implementation of our joint UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework 2021-2025. And on that note, I thank you for your kind attention, and I really do look forward for the exciting work ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Susan Ngongi Namondo, the UN Resident Coordinator, just 6 weeks old in Uganda, from Cameroon. Thank you very much. Let's clap for her and welcome her to Uganda. Your Excellency, sir, permit me now to invite the Minister in charge of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries to give us a presentation of the synthesized report of the regional and independent food systems dialogues as they were held across the country. The Honorable Minister is represented by Honorable Bright Ramirama. You're most welcome, Honorable Bright.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, Right Honorable Prime Minister, Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Ministers, Honorable MPs, heads of UN, bodies representatives, Chairperson, National Planning Authority, the permanent secretaries, heads of government agencies, heads of civil societies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, on behalf of Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, I am honored to participate in this important function aimed at coming up with Uganda's commitment towards transforming her agro-food systems for sustainable development of its citizens, where Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries is a key driver. Uganda, like most countries in Africa, has strategically positioned the agricultural sector and the implication agro-food systems transformation as a key driver for social economic transformation and the transition in the middle incomes status. The third National Development Plan, NDP3, 2020-21 to 24-25, has earmarked 18 national development programs, of which agro-industrialization, human capital development, natural resources management, and climate change mitigation, and community mobilization, and mindset change are central to achieving the food system transformation and nutrition-related goals for Uganda. The realization of NDP 3 is mostly hinged on the outcomes of agro-industrialization program. In effect, transformation of agro-food sector has been singled out as an engine for effective realization of the NDP 3. Your Excellency, given the multi-sectoral nature of food system development, it was imperative that MAIF works very closely with the Office of the Prime Minister and coordinate with all relevant stakeholders to ensure that Uganda effectively participates in the Food System Summit. With the able leadership of the Office of the Prime Minister, Your Excellency, the country has successfully held more than 15 inclusive dialogues at regional level and for a number of interest groups. A virtual sector-wide dialogue led by Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries was also held on Thursday, 29th July 2021. Your Excellency, the Ministry has also represented Uganda at the African Union meeting of ministers and high-level meeting of food system pre-summit in Rome. Our ministry outlined Uganda's position at both AU and pre-summit as the need to harness trade opportunities, especially inter-African ones, and promote indigenous sustainable and resilient African food system that can deliver nutrition food for all. Furthermore, development of this food system must be based on enhanced research and development. Ultimately, this undertaking will result in improved livelihood of our people on the continent in a much more sustainable way. Your Excellency and distinguished participants, and all of you distinguished participants, the intended outcome of the Food System Summit is to adopt game-changing solutions that will transform food system across the globe and fast-track the achievement of all the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, of UN agencies 2030. The situation is even more urgent in the era of the COVID-19 pandemic, where evidence has shown that good nutrition practices and healthy diets rich in immune-boosting food can check the spread and mortality related to the virus. In fact, overweight, obesity, diet-related non-communicable diseases, often regarded as malnutrition of excess food, is high risk for severe illness and mortality related to COVID-19. In Uganda, NCDs contributed to 30% of mortalities in the country. Undernourished people are also at high risk of contracting all kinds of diseases, COVID-19 inclusive, and with high chances of mortalities or reduced rates of recovery. With the prevalence of COVID-19, the impact of NCD and nutrition will definitely be worsened. Your Excellency, you rightly observed that when COVID-19 exposed weaknesses and vulnerabilities in real economy shifted to agriculture, while the pandemic disrupted big earners like tourism, transport, services, and other sectors, agriculture was minimally disrupted and remained the cushioning sector of the economy. On the other hand, the pandemic has provided an opportunity for us to rethink our agri-food system, creating the urgency to focus on improving and strengthening safe and sustainable food production and supply chains promoting and strengthening food safety and post-harvest handling practices, promoting healthy diets, enforcing consumer protection and sustainable use of our diverse indigenous plant, animal fisheries, resources, among others. In fact, never before has there been an opportunity to reflect deeply on good nutrition, health, and associated development of a country and its people than it is today. When we combine with the escalating prevalence of non-communicable diseases and COVID-19, the common denominator is diverse nutrition food and healthy diets, mostly comprising of wholesome indigenous staple food, fruits, vegetable, and other low-risk plant-based and animal source food complemented by a healthy lifestyle. These interventions will require transformation of our agriculture and food sector, but complemented by many more sectors as identified in our program-wide approach guided by NDP 3. Beyond food, sector provides food for enhancing physical activity, skills, and livelihood. The ongoing food system dialogue in the country are therefore very timely and important for us, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, distinguished participants, our ministry, working closely with the Office of the Prime Minister, National Planning Authority, and fellow ministries, including local government, water and environment, health, gender, and social development as lead coordinator entities, but also with the many other stakeholders, has managed to sensitize the key issues from all the food system dialogue into 12 points as follows. 1, underutilized food production and supply potential of Uganda. This needs to be fully harnessed. The country is still producing less, using more, yet transformation demands we produce more using less energy. Agro-industrialization is key engine for transformation of food system by ensuring value is added to gain more competitiveness on the market. Rural electrification and renewable energy connectivity will be a lever for agro-industrialization and economic transformation. Your Excellency, we view that rural electrification should be considered as a utility, not a commodity, in order to spur transformation. Quality assurance is a challenge in the food sector that needs integrated and enforce quality and safety in all food system activities for improved productivity, market access, and safety supply to our people. This should be right from the production through the whole value chain, i.e. from farm to fork.
Yes.
Now we can see. Where did you select such a person? Thank you so much. But he's a good person in spite of the name. You see, most of our names are linked to the events, the what, like this one here, from our Luo languages, would mean that maybe he was born after the children who were before him have died or something. There must be something unlucky about him, but he's now lucky. Now, talking of food production in Uganda, you are in the right place in the world. As I was telling the cabinet the other day, Traditionally, we produce 2 crops in a year. Not many parts of the world can do that. Without irrigation, just depending on the rains. That's why the main crop at the end of the year is called, in January, is called omwaka, the main crop. The smaller crop, harvested in June, is called obujegashe in one of the languages. So traditionally, we always have food here. But in the past, food was mainly for eating, for home consumption. But with the opening of the world, we become aware that you can have food for home consumption, but also food for commerce, for trading, for selling. Traditionally, I was trying to remember the foods, our traditional foods. I think I came up with a list of something like 19 foods, indigenous, and I didn't exhaust them. The list included bananas, millet, bananas, amatoke, millet, oburo, cassava, mhogo, maize, ebishori, sweet potatoes, ebitakuri. Now, later on, we imported these Irish potatoes that we call omondi. Beef, enyama, milk, amate, fish, ebyenyanja, chicken, enkoko, beans, ebihimba, ebijanjaro, peas, obushaza, groundnuts, ebinyewa. There are even crops like enkore, which some of you people may not know very well. I don't know why agriculture doesn't promote those. Enkore, cow peas. Cow peas, these are part of our traditional. There's another legume also which I don't see anymore, called enkuku. I don't know what it is called in English. Then you have pumpkins, ensuju. Then you have vegetables, enyabutongo, dodo. Then you have got enyanya, tomatoes, obutunguru, what do you call obutunguru? Onions, entonga, I don't know what entonga are. Entura batya mu ruzungu. Huh? Eggplant, okay. Now, all these are indigenous crops of Uganda, except the Irish potatoes. All the others are indigenous. And these are the foods I eat. When you hear that I am now going to be 77 in September, and I have no blood pressure, no diabetes, It is because I eat these. Unfortunately, you people, you like to eat European and Indian foods. Those are your issues. But even those European and Indian foods, we have adopted, some of our people have adopted them, not me. I've never grown rice in my life. No. But some of our people grow those foreign foods like wheat. Wheat is grown here also. Rice is grown. Pigs, these pigs are imported. Our indigenous pigs were in the bush. They were not in the homes. Some people would hunt them, but they were not part of the livestock. So therefore, really, Uganda should have no problem at all with food. When you hear that there is a problem, which is because of lack of sensitization, lack of knowing what to do. Food here grows very easily. The maize take 3 months, the maize crop would be ready. The sweet potatoes, ebitakuri, don't they take 2 months? Do you have an agricultural person here? Come, please. Agriculture, not just the one who is qualified. I don't want the one who are just talking about agriculture. The one with BSc agriculture. Who are you?
Thank you, His Excellency. I'm called Grace Bwenje Bunanuche from National Planning Authority.
Bunanuche?
Yes.
That's a good name. Bunanuche means you are satisfied. Okunanuka. Now, how many days does Evitakuri? How many days?
Sweet potatoes take about 4 months, 6 months, but they can stay in the soil for some time. Because it is a food security crop, can stay in the ground for a while.
The minimum is 4 months?
Yes, sir.
To
be harvested.
Because even in our language, you don't say that the sweet potatoes have ripened. You know, everything is here is clear. What ripens is like millet, but Irish sweet potatoes mature. Even the words are different. Thank you very much. So within 4 months, you can harvest the sweet potatoes. So what are the problems? What are the bottlenecks? When you hear that there is food problem here, food problem there. Some of these bottlenecks have been solved by the government. And when I read through them, I will say this is a problem, but it has been solved. First problem was good seeds. But that one, the government has solved. We have got very many research institutions for all major crops, where the research institutions have developed for us the good seeds. Agriculture, come and tell the people here the research institutions and what each one does. Bunanuche, come back. You are now a volunteer. I remember them in my head, but I don't want to overwork when these people are here. So you tell them the research institutions and which seeds they prepare for us.
Thank you, His Excellency. We have the National Agricultural Research Organization with its agencies.
No, tell us the centers, not the bureaucracy.
We have Kawanda. Kawanda National now has research laboratories and also has a soil testing center. But we have Namuronge.
Please, go slowly. You know, that's why you cannot teach people. What seeds does Kawanda prepare for us?
Kawanda now has banana. It was left with the banana research program. So it has, you can get the good variety of suckers.
So Kawanda specializes in bananas. How about the maize?
Maize, you'll find it in the National Agricultural Crop Resources Institute in Namuronge. You'll find there maize.
So go one by one. Kawanda, bananas, what else?
We'll find maize in Namuronge. That is the National Crop Resources.
Never mind the names, but the place and the seeds.
Okay, Namuronge, we will get maize. We will also get beans. You also find high quality cassava cuttings. And then we have also transferred the animal center to Namuronge. So Namuronge is also involved in some animal research. And groundnuts are still in Serere.
Go on, do.
And soybean, Makerere is highly involved, especially in Kabanyoro. Makerere University Research Kabanyoro has very good soybean. And then, what else?
Chituza.
Chituza is very good in coffee. You'll find good high quality coffee, resistant to the wilt that kills coffee.
Karengere.
Karengere has very good Irish potatoes.
You see, I'm the one reminding this man now. He's just there. Okay, go and sit down. Do you know better you? Unalio kumpe unacho manyo kusingono. He's not sure.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I'm from Naro. I was just coming to supplement, but he answered most of the questions correct.
No, you say confidently, because this one is 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, maybe what has not come out is all semi-arid crops like millet, sorghum, palm millet are done in Soroti, in that semi-arid area. We have institutes all across the zones of Uganda, which are journals that link the farmers to the technologies. But the ones he mentioned are the national research institutions that deal with the strategic issues and developing the technologies, Your Excellency.
So therefore, have you solved the problem of, there are some of the crops I forgot here. How about sugarcane?
Sugarcane, we're into the research. We are trying to see where we put the research institution for sugarcane.
And Rebtava?
Then for fish and other things, all we have, for fish we have it in Jinja. For vegetables, we still have at Namulonga, which they call National Crop Resources Research Institute. Kawanda is where Your Excellency government invested in a lot of laboratory facilities, and we're able to tackle so many other disease issues also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So therefore, the seeds, the problem of wood seeds is addressed by all these research institutions. Now, then the next challenge is water, irrigation. Yes, there is rain, but sometimes rain delays. So that is still a problem. Irrigation. And if you had somebody from, I don't know whether Wamirama, the minister knows all the irrigation efforts. Can you come and tell us? Because these people want to know the answer. The problem, the answer. Because once you finish with the seeds, then the next problem is the water for crops.
Thank you, Excellency. First of all, with water, is that you helped us to acquire units to excavate water for the farmers for irrigation, to make sure that they cover areas of drought. And the schemes for irrigation, we have Mubuku, we have Doha, and we are developing all the other traditional ones in the north and northeast, Your Excellency.
Olweny.
Olweny, yes, Your Excellency.
Olweny, Agoro. How about Bukedea?
Bukedea, we have a project, we are working on it, Your Excellency.
Good. So, thank you. So the minister is also, as mentioned, that there are two levels of irrigation. There is the micro irrigation, where using the government equipment, I can create a dam in my farm, and then I pump the water to a high ground using maybe solar power, and then irrigate my gardens locally as a standalone farmer. So that would be the main effort, because Uganda has got a lot of rain. If you dig a dam somewhere in your own farm, personal farm, you catch the water, using the government equipment, the one he's talking about, the government earth moving equipment. Then you pump the water up a high ground, and it comes back by gravity, and you irrigate your land at a micro level. Then you have the other mega irrigation, the ones he's talking about, Mobuku, what, which now cover an area, Doho. So the UN system, since they are interested in this effort, could help in either more equipment for micro or help in the other, the mega, where you irrigate for the whole area. But the Minister of Agriculture should make available to the UN system the whole list. The minister has not exhausted the list. The list is longer of the area irrigation as opposed to micro irrigation. Third bottleneck are the bad farming practices. People not knowing how to do the good farming practices. This is the spacing the crops, making contours on the hillsides, putting windbreaks. A wind like this is not good for crops because it will blow away the pollen and there will be no pollination. So we need to have windbreaks, trees which slow down the wind so that pollination can take place properly. Making trenches so that the water is trapped and sinks in the soil. All these are part of the good farming practices to conserve the land, but also to yield more. That one is simply sensitization and enforcement and supervision, because the practices are well elaborated. Then the fourth problem are pests and parasites on crops. These are a real problem because when we use chemical killers, eventually they go in the food system, and it's not good. That's why these days we are looking for organic way of killing these pests. That's why, for instance, we are developing the anti-tick vaccine. We have the vaccine already, our people have developed it. It should be funded for the cow to be vaccinated, and then it kills the tick. When the tick comes to bite the cow kills it through its blood system, organically. The other day I was talking with some people, they were brought by some people who are talking of an organic pest killer, killing tsetse flies, killing these other, even ticks, organic. Yeah. So the issue of pests, the people, since this is supposed to be a world, this world or this is still local? World will be in September. So here we are now still Ugandan. Now Ugandan farmers work with the people in the world to solve the problem of pests and parasites. And if we can do it organically, for me, I already have some organic solutions. Support them if you can. Our people are developing an anti-tick vaccine, organic. So let the world focus on this. How do we solve these ticks and other parasites and pests, and do so organically? without using chemicals so that we do not poison ourselves. So that is bottleneck number 4. Number 5, the issue of markets. Because here in Uganda, it's very easy for us to produce food. But the problem we get are people to buy. We produce, like the other time we produced a lot of maize. We produced 5 million tons, but the Ugandans were eating only 1 million tons. So we had a surplus of 4 million tons. And people went into debts, into what? And I think some of them have fallen out. They are no longer interested in maize because there was no market. So persuading the people in Africa to understand the issue of one African market without borders is very, very important. So that I see our people here buying a banana known as gonja from Congo. Gonja is a certain type of banana. But I've seen many of my mobilizers going to buy gonja from Congo. The other bananas are here, the other types, but there is this one which is from Congo. So if we do not interfere with the people can build an African market because they know what is where and what is. So ideologically, strategically, let's understand and tell everybody that please, even those Europeans who block our food, I can produce food for them much better than what they are eating now. There's a time when I went to New York and I tried to eat something, what they were calling pineapple. When I put it in the mouth, terrible, terrible. What's this? I could smell urea in the am I eating urea or what? In the mouth. Yet here you see the bananas, they are the pineapples. You drive. They are rotting on the roadside here. So is this Christianity for me to eat good pineapples? And people in the world are eating pineapples which are not so good. So, you the young people, you talk, please, let's have free market of food so that the one who is producing food easily, we buy it and we exchange. Then, of course, in the past, we had the problem of bad roads. Like in Bundubujo. Bundubujo is a part of Uganda which had no road linking it to the rest of Uganda. And yet they are big producers of cocoa, of even rice, those who eat rice. Fortunately, now we have the road there. We have put them there. The road to the north, to Kitgum, where they produce simsim and other products. So that one is being addressed, the issue of roads. But later on, we must address the issue of the railway to the sea. This is because the distance is long and road transport is not very economic. So the answer there would be the railway, which we are really working on with Kenya and with Tanzania. Then you have the post-harvest losses. Post-harvest losses. Those are caused by well-known factors which we should handle. First of all, the way you harvest, where you dry, where you store, and that's how the fungus comes in, or humbo, and you get aflatoxins. So that stage. Then some of the crops cannot get to the market unless you process them. Because if you don't process them, they will rot and you lose them. So value addition, processing, is part of ensuring the food security. Processing. Everything that is not eaten fresh must be processed. That is our strategy. Like these pineapples, if you see them along those roads to Entebbe, being pushed on the wheelbarrows, a lot of pineapples. Very, very, very sweet. Then, number 9, environmental protection. Because this farming is dependent on water. But water comes from the lakes, from the rivers, from the swamps. So when you are drying the swamps, you are cutting your base for agricultural production. Because we want water for irrigation, there is the swamp grass, which I told the cabinet the other day. There's a swamp grass which we use for mulching. It's called Evgugu, Cyperum latifolia, according to because you like foreign languages. When we speak in Latin, you understand better. In our local language, it is simpler. It is called Evgugu. But my scientists told me that they call it Cyperum latifolia. I don't know what that means, but there you are. So the wetlands are very crucial. The water bodies are very crucial for the farming systems. Some use of fertilizers. Although we have got organic fertilizers, but sometimes it may be necessary to put in some of the chemical fertilizers. The agriculture person, you come and tell us whether we can do away completely with the organic, with the chemical fertilizers or not.
His Excellency, thank you. We cannot do away with the inorganic fertilizers because organic alone is not enough, and it's very expensive to produce organic fertilizers. So therefore we need some inorganic, like NPK and urea and others.
But urea is there.
Yeah, from urine, but that's not enough. We need to manufacture it in the industry. So we need inorganic fertilizer. And you can't do large-scale production unless you have inorganic fertilizer. So if you have a farm of about 20 acres and above, you can't talk about organic fertilizers.
Okay. So you hear now, we need both organic and inorganic fertilizers. Then in the case of Uganda, our guests here need to know one of our problems which has been created by poor leadership. This is the problem of land fragmentation. Land fragmentation. When the head of the family dies, the land is fragmented in smaller and smaller pieces for inheritance. This means that at some stage, you can no longer economically produce some of the crops. Because some of the crops, like maize, for instance, even sugarcane, only makes sense when you produce them on a big scale. So land fragmentation is another bottleneck. Then number 12, storage. Storage. So those are the bottlenecks that I could identify, but you can identify all the others. Then finally, there is the facilitating infrastructure. That one I have already touched on. I've already touched on the roads. I've touched on the railway. But you need to add on electricity, because to process you need electricity. You need to add on water for irrigation. You need to add on telephones. Telephones make communication easy. Farmers can do business on telephone. Water for production. Some of these have been addressed. The telephones are no longer a problem. The roads are no longer a problem. Electricity is improving. What is still the main problem is the railway and more water for production. So with this, Uganda can feed many people in the world. It's very easy for us to grow food. We are here on a high plateau on the African continent. We get rain 2 times in a year. The sun is always going up and north over us. Being here on the equator, when the sun is going south, it passes over us, and we get rain. When the sun is going north, it passes over us, and we get rain. So you people, where you are sitting here is unique. United Nations, Amawanga Magati, now you have got to a real center of those nations. It's here. I was trying to look on the map of the world and see whether there could be other countries which could be like Uganda. I was only able to see possibly two others. One is a part of Kenya, near Mount Kenya. That area called, what do they call that place? Near Mount Kenya, there is They have got an airport there. Huh? Meru is one of them, but where the airport is. Kuna Mkenya hapa? Hakuna Mkenya? Oh. There is an Air Force base there, near Mount Kenya. That place is like Uganda, that place. Because that's where the equator passes, and it is also high. Because Uganda has two advantages. First of all, we are right on the equator, and then we have a high altitude. It's not easy to get those combinations. The only other place which could be like Uganda on the map, I've never been there, there's a place called Ecuador in South America. I suspect it could be like Uganda. Right on the equator, with a high altitude. That's a combination that is not, because when you go from Uganda, you go to the Congo. Much of the Congo is on the equator, but lowland. Lowland, very humid, very hot. The Amazon in South America, on the equator, lowland, but very humid because it is lowland. Then from there, the equator goes in the ocean, no land, except it gets to the Philippines. And the Philippines is also very, very hot because it is lowland. So really in food production, United Nations, you tell your headquarters that the Center for Food Production is here. So work with these Ugandans, and we deal with these bottlenecks, and we can produce, I can tell you, we can produce food which would feed very many people. I'll give you an example. These bananas you are talking about, these farmers of ours here have been harvesting 5.3 metric tons per hectare of bananas per year. But in the government research center in Bushenyi, they are now producing 53 metric tons per hectare, from 5 tons to 53 tons. You can imagine, more than 10 times. And somebody told me that in Brazil, they have gone up to 80 tons per hectare. So you can imagine the potential. This production we are talking about, we can multiply by 10 times if we do things right. So this is my information to the Ugandans, which I think you can also capture, and you inform the rest of the world who, if they want, can work with us to maximize the food production capacity in Uganda, so that we solve the problem of the human race together. I was watching people in different parts of the world rioting for food. This was last year or 2 years ago. People were rioting for food. Here we are throwing food away. This is not logical. I thank you, and I wish you good luck.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for those wonderful presentations, but more especially for the identification of the challenges or the bottlenecks, as you call them. More especially because they say problem identified is half solved. So for you to have identified these problems and sharing them with us, I think is a beginning of that solution. I want to thank all of you, from the Right Honorable Prime Minister, for participating in this dialogue, all the dignitaries here present, the ministers in your various capacities, the heads of government agencies, the UN family. Thank you all very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this dialogue, and I'm going to invite us all to stand up and sing the national anthems. We will have them in reverse order, starting with the East African anthem, and then we will sing one stanza of the national anthem. And after the anthems have been sung, we will depart, but in reverse order, allowing His Excellency the President to be the first, and then the Prime Minister, and in that reverse order. Thank you very much. Anthem.